At 8:14 on this Thursday morning, Damien Delaney is with us. How are you getting on, Damien?
How are you keeping?
All well, all well. So last night, we may as well start with Manchester United here. Found it interesting that Paul Pogba gets brought on by Solskjaer last night. He clearly thinks that he needs minutes, and I guess this is a weird time for Pogba because compared to any other season, people are talking about him less because everybody's talking about Sancho and everybody's talking about who can Manchester United sign. You do, though, get this feeling, Damien, that this is a huge season for him because compared to this time last year, he now has Van de Beek and Bruno Fernandes beside him. Are we now in a position where the excuses for Pogba's form are now out the window?
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement. Maybe he had his injury problems last year. I felt that he was kind of the player that everyone was picking on at Man United. A lot of people were saying that he was the reason with his hairstyles and his Instagram and all that. But it's time to put up or... I don't want to say put up or shut up, but it's time for him to kind of nail his kind of trademark style on Manchester United and take that team almost by the scruff of the neck and drag it where it needs to be. Look, he's a top player. He really is. We've seen it with Juventus and we've seen it with France. He just hasn't been able to replicate that form at Manchester United, and there probably is still a little bit, maybe not anymore, but there was talk of him leaving Manchester United. But it looks like as if he's going to stay now, so he just needs to almost accept that and get on with it. Sometimes
you think when a player of those sort of talents comes into the Premier League or comes back to the Premier League, in Pogba's case, they may struggle. But like you look over at Everton at the moment and you look at the signing of James Rodriguez. By that metric, James Rodriguez should flop. But the reason why he's been so good is probably because of the signings of Alan and Doucouré. And is it as simple as that, Damien, that Pogba has been a little bit let down by those beside him in that Manchester United midfield?
Look, I don't subscribe to that notion at all. I think Pogba's first year, he was unbelievable. He got in the PFA Team of the Year. It just seems to be that there was a narrative painted about him that he was this bad boy, and as I said, he almost became like the whipping boy for just pundits and things because of his lifestyle and his cars and whatever else that he did, and it just seemed to gather momentum. And I remember saying at the time when he got picked in the PFA Team of the Year. That is something that is voted for by the players that play against him. And I played against him, and I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in the game we played against. He's a colossal man. He's about 6'5", 6'6", and he's just an absolute athlete. No, last year he was pretty poor, which you could blame on injuries or maybe he kind of hadn't looked like he kind of had enough of kind of playing in a poor Man United team. But Van de Beek looked pretty decent last night from the highlights that I saw. So hopefully, if with a few better pieces around him, it might reinvigorate Pogba and kind of get him back involved and rediscover his love of Manchester United.
Damien, can I just ask you about the United defence then? I mean, we speak about players who, the likes of Eric Bailly, for example, last night he put in a very solid display. I think most United fans would agree. You have players like Marcus Rocco, who Solskjaer has spoken about in recent weeks, said, I think he's training a couple of times a day and really trying to push to get back into that United defence. Maybe the likes of Phil Jones and Chris Smalling, their United careers are coming to an end. But over the last few weeks, it's been United need this other central defender, someone to either replace Lindelof, probably Lindelof, given the money they spent on Harry Maguire. But is it imperative that United sign another defender? Upamecano deal didn't happen, but if you see the likes of Eric Bailly performing as he did last night, is that not enough for United fans, or is a bit of transfer activity in the defence realistic and important for United at this stage?
Both of those players you mentioned there are of absolute no use to you because they're always injured. You cannot rely on them. You cannot hang your hat on them for 50 games a season because Eric Bailly spent the vast majority of Manchester United career injured. So you've never got a chance to see how good he is. And I know a lot of fans will judge a guy off one performance and he might look great, but you got to be judged over 50. And unfortunately, that is the deal when you sign up for a club like Manchester United or you sign up to play that level. Being fit and being on the pitch is equally as important as just turning in 2 good performances out of 4 appearances a season. It's not enough. So I would cut my losses with those 2 because if he's as injury prone as what he is now, it's not going to improve. He's not going to, Eric Bailly is not going to show up the season and give you 50 games. I would be shocked because he spent the last 2 or 3 years injured. The same with Marcus Rojo. So I think all the talk about Jadon Sancho and all the attacking players they're talking about bringing in, Manchester United will struggle to finish 4th unless they become better defensively as a team. Now, I don't believe that Harry Maguire is the main man. I know he's captain of Manchester United, but he does need a strong centre-back partner alongside him. And I don't think Victor Lindelof is that. I think they're both kind of good partners for a number one. You think Joe Matip, Joe Gomez alongside Virgil van Dijk. There has to be one constant, one main centre-back. But Manchester United, I think, don't have the money to sign that. You can talk all you want about Sancho, but Man United have a lot of problems at the moment, and I think one of them is the manager. I don't think I've been saying this for a long time. He's been getting away with all sorts. Manchester United still don't have a clear identity as a team. I watch Manchester United play, and it just looks like a collection of players told to go on the pitch and enjoy themselves, and that's how they defend and that's how they attack. It's all off the cuff. You look at most top teams; they're absolutely everything. Nothing is left a chance. Every detail is covered, both attacking and defending. So Manchester United got a whole host of problems for me. And, when you hear people saying that, finishing top 4 for Manchester United is a success this year, just tells you how far expectations have fallen.
That lack of attacking strategy, was it present there at all when they went through their purple patch at the end of last season?
We see that's what you end up getting when it's off the cuff. It's purple patches, and it's right. Good moments because, if you put players on the pitch and it clicks, the chemistry is good and everybody's enjoying themselves and they're full of energy. There'll become parts of the season, or there will, come times where, players are tired and they need a structure, they need a game plan, they need kind of boundaries to fall back on. And that I always believe that gives players confidence, that you have certain jobs going on the pitch and every player has a certain job to perform. And if every player performs his role, then the whole thing comes together and you get a good team performance. I don't see that attacking-wise or defensive-wise with Manchester United.
Damien, does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have the aura of a Manchester United manager? I mean, a lot of people I've talked to recently have spoken about the fact that, he sits in the dugout watching the matches on the screen. You rarely see him kind of move towards the technical area, remonstrate with the players. It happens the odd time, but his body language is quite relaxed. Maybe that's just his Scandinavian manner, I don't know. But if you had a manager like that who kind of sits back, maybe he has the likes of Kieran McKenna and Mike Phelan and Michael Carrick to do that kind of verbalising and talking for him. But how's his body language on the sideline for you?
I've been saying this since day dot. He does not have the charisma, personality to manage a club like Manchester United when it's in the situation that it's in. Manchester United, for me, are probably where Liverpool were in about 1994. They were just coming off the back of an awful lot of success and they're sliding into kind of mediocrity for me right now. And it's going to take, they're throwing a huge amount of money at it. And if you look at a lot of players who have left Manchester United and gone on to do pretty good. Think of Lukaku and Ashley Young, Chris Smalling. They've all kind of left. Di Maria going to PSG. So one very interesting thing was that the Sanchez interview that he gave afterwards. After 10 minutes of his first training session, he wanted to leave. So that means there's something fundamentally wrong at Manchester United Football Club, because all these players aren't bad players and they all don't go on and have they don't go on and do better away from Manchester United than they were doing at Manchester United. And I think that for Manchester United to arrest this slide, just coming back to your point, it's going to take a manager of huge personality. Now, I know they had Jose Mourinho in and he couldn't do it, but it's going to take a Jurgen Klopp type character, a larger-than-life personality to come in and take control of that football club, because I believe that's what needs to happen. There's an awful lot of chefs at Manchester United, an awful lot of people kind of stirring the pot, all want to be the man that's running Manchester United. They want to be part of the biggest club in the world and they want to be the ones to turn it around. But I think it's lacking any real clear direction, unless the owners are happy with the direction it's going in, and that is they're continuing to make money from Manchester United, but the club is continuing to slide into mediocrity.
Gary Neville on Twitter a couple of days ago yesterday said it's appalling that in this market, which is probably the easiest in Premier League history to get transfers done, that United haven't done more yet. They must get Ole a centre-back, left-back and forward pre-deadline. The others are managing to get things over the line. Why not United? So he's obviously pointing the finger at the board here, Damien, and it does seem that Solskjaer at times is insulated from criticism as a result of...
It's unbelievable. The more I see this go on, it's just like they're all tiptoeing around him. And I said this about a year ago. I said, people say that being a nice guy gets you nowhere. It's gotten Ole a year at Manchester United because he seems to be a really likeable fella. And a lot of these players that have played with him have an affinity to him because, he came on and scored last-minute goals. And I'm pretty sure if I played in a team and a manager came on and was scoring all these last-minute goals, you would just have a kind of a feeling for him, a kind of a loyalty to him, a love for him because of what he's done for you. But Gary Neville is quite correct in what he's saying, but first and foremost, the manager's got to take control of the football side of things, and you've got to have a manager strong enough to take control of the board as well. Now, I know that might seem an awful lot difficult, but if you look over at Liverpool, I think Jurgen Klopp is in almost complete control of that football club. I don't believe that the board, the owners, or the director of football, or whoever's there, do anything without picking up the phone and asking Jurgen Klopp first, listen, Jurgen, we're thinking of doing this. And he gets a chance to think about it and says, no. Because there's a clear strategy at Liverpool, or there was a clear strategy to get rid of an awful lot of the deadwood that was there and bring in Jurgen Klopp-type players. At Manchester United, it's still 5 or 6 people thinking they're running the show. And I believe the club is getting pulled in 5 or 6 directions. And the reason that I believe that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in charge is because he accepts an awful lot of it. He doesn't seem like, to go back to your point there, he doesn't seem like a demanding manager, that's really going to fall out with the board or really going to put his job on the line because he's not getting what he wants and say, listen, if you guys don't give me what I want, I'm leaving. He doesn't seem that type of manager. He just seems convenient to have him in that position. And also as a player, you want to have some sort of fear of your manager as well. There has to be a little bit of that. You can't be your best friend all the time. You got to have a little bit like, I'm not playing well today, 20 minutes into the game. You got to be thinking, oh my God, at halftime, I'm getting it. I need to sort myself out here. I need to get myself going. There has to be that element of fear, or that element of like, if you lose a game on a Saturday, that you're going in on a Monday morning and you're actually driving in your car, I won't go as far as say petrified, but you are thinking, oh, for God's sake, we're all getting it here today. There's going to be meetings. He's going to dig people out. I don't really want to be the guy that gets dug out. So there has to be that element of fear as well. I'm not sure that he carries that, to be honest with you.
Right. We want to move on to Manchester City here because there's been a lot of questions asked about them defensively over the last little while. Where is their biggest issue for you, Damien?
It seems to be Pep's identified it as defenders. I think Manchester City are obviously a very, very good team, and they just seem to have gotten the centre-back one wrong. And when you're at the very, very, very top, like Manchester City are, and you're down to fine margins, because Liverpool have set a pace in the league that you have to be perfect almost for the whole season. It's 98, 99, 100 points, or even 100 points plus now is what it takes to win the league. And if you're, before you used to be able to carry maybe 1 or 2, or you'd be able to drop in like Alex Ferguson used to do, a few young lads to rest a few players. I think Liverpool are almost sprinting a marathon at this stage, and Man City the previous year as well. So you can't afford to carry anyone, and if there's any weakness in your team, it'll get shown up because you're going to drop a couple of points here or there that you can't absorb and make up further on up the road or later on in the league. And I think Manchester City just haven't quite got the centre-back recruitment right because, in midfield, Fernandinho, I think, is a very, very good number 6. I think he's pushing on a little bit, and that's maybe one slight weakness that they have. Rodri's come in, and he's a very, very good footballer, but he's not, a Fabinho type who provides for Liverpool. When Liverpool aren't playing well, Fabinho will make sure they won't lose the game, and they know they're going to get at least 1 goal in the game. And last year you saw in the league, Liverpool won an awful lot of games where you thought maybe they didn't deserve to. And I think it's people like Fabinho and Jordan Henderson get those games over the line. So that's kind of one aspect, I'd say. But then again, you look at centre-back, they never really replaced Vincent Kompany, which is obvious enough to say. I think they were expecting more development or more kind of output from John Stones, and it hasn't quite come. He's not developed into the kind of John Terry type player they were hoping that he was going to develop into, that the mainstay of the England team and the mainstay of Manchester City, winning leagues and competing at the top end of European football. Laporte getting injured, I think, was huge for them. I think they were hanging their hat on him being a 50-game-a-season guy, and maybe Otamendi, Stones, and Fernandinho filling in alongside him, so they had a little bit of stability there. Obviously, Otamendi's pushed on. He's moved on to Benfica, and they're hoping that this guy is the man now. But it's kind of 400 million on defenders is a lot.
Yeah, just on Ruben Diaz, I'm not sure have you seen him play, but there's been a few good profiles of him done on The Athletic and Sky Sports over the last couple of days. So these are the attributes we're expecting from Ruben Diaz. So he's used to playing with so many risks being taken elsewhere in his team. He's got a good eye for a pass. He's got an intense personality. He's great at team talks. He's going to be the one commanding the defensive line, and his emotional control is top class. So that ticks all the boxes, Damien, I presume, for you.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of interesting words there being used, but I suppose a lot of it will come down as how much heart and how much spirit that he actually has, because there's come times in the Premier League where all those attributes look great on a bit of paper, but when it comes time to put on your tin hat, has he got that in him to really control the defence and sit in and head balls clear when they're winning 1-0 or they're winning 2-1 with 10 minutes to go, and he, because in the Premier League they'll just throw the kitchen sink at you, most teams. So has he got that attribute? But I suppose you'll only find that out when he's in that situation.
Yes, we've got just a couple of more things to wrap up on. I just wanted to put Monday night to you, and I guess Monday night has been completely overshadowed by the fact that you've got Klopp versus Keane in the aftermath. And it kind of comes back, I guess, to what you've been saying about your manager potentially tearing shreds out of you when things go wrong. I guess the other side of that coin with Jurgen Klopp is that he will go to bat for you no matter what, and this siege-like mentality that he creates. Like, people on the outside may say that's too prickly when he responds to Roy Keane on Monday night, but as players, probably that shows to them how much he'll defend them no matter what.
Precisely. If you're a player and you're sitting in the change room and the TVs are going to be on the change room, and then that happens, you as a player are like almost cheering, saying, "Go on, Gaffer." He won't accept any criticism of his team, not when he feels it's unjust and unrewarded. And I suppose he sends out a message to a lot of pundits that this type of, maybe the bullying of Paul Pogba that went on last season. He said, "Don't you guys even think about starting anything like that with my team?" Because he just jumped on it straight away. And I thought it was brilliant. And if I was a player playing for him, I'd be pretty happy.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about is Crystal Palace's early season form, but in an Irish context. I guess what everybody's thinking to themselves is, how do we get the Crystal Palace version of James McCarthy? How do we get that sort of level out of him in an Ireland jersey, despite the different formation?
I think you're going to get it. I think a lot of criticism has been directed toward James, and it's been unfair because that Ireland game was before the season had even started. So it's almost like a pre-season game, and I'm pretty sure if you went and watched James play against, and I know he picked up a little injury as well in pre-season when he was at Crystal Palace. It was nothing major, but so if he's going in there and he's missed a week's training or 10 days training, and then he wants to go in and play for Ireland, he starts and he doesn't play very well, he gets criticised. But he's had 4 or 5 games now for Crystal Palace. He's going to be fully fit. He's been brilliant this year. I've watched all the Palace games, and I thought he's been absolutely fantastic. Him and James McArthur have been the 2 best players for Crystal Palace this year in the middle of the park. And James, he looks fully fit. He looks hungry. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get that version in the Slovakia game.
Damien, it's nice to have options, and Stephen Kenny certainly has options at right back, right wing back, whatever way you want to look at it. But with Seamus Coleman playing the first 3 games for Everton, starting them, playing really well, Matt Doherty, we know, has moved to Spurs and playing well as well. So can these players play together? Stephen Kenny was asked about it this week, and he's obviously speaking about the attributes both bring to the team, and certainly not ruling out the fact that both could possibly play together. Coleman will have been disappointed not to have been involved against Bulgaria and Finland in the Nations League games. So how do they fit into that Irish team together, or can they?
I think you I won't say you'd be shoehorning the pair of them in, but he might have to contemplate kind of changing his belief system around and maybe changing his system, and I don't see him doing that. I think he has a system that he played against Bulgaria with 4 kind of 2-3-1 or it'll be a 4 at the back. He won't go to 3-5-2, especially not in a game of that magnitude. So if he does stay with a flat back 4, I think it's just we have to accept that he's going to have to pick one of them. And pick the one that's in form. I said last year when Seamus was starting games under Mick, I said that it was crazy. Doherty was playing the better football, was playing at a better level, was playing in Europe for Wolves, and Seamus didn't have a great season last year by his standards at Everton. Yet Seamus played for Ireland, which I thought was a bit, not right, because you play the form players. And at the start of the season, I think Seamus has been fantastic for Everton. So he's the form player. Matt Doherty started pretty slow for Tottenham. So I think you play the form players. And if Seamus is in form, and obviously with Seamus you get the leadership and the I suppose I know he's the captain of the team, but you also get the character of the man, because he's a fantastic leader and he's a fantastic fella. So you just play the form player, and the guy who's not in form just sit on the bench and watch.
Yeah, it might come down to that, and it'll be as simple as that. Damien Delaney, great stuff as ever. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Ads. Thanks.